This company views their influence to silence dissenting voices.
You don't want to fight these guys.
Found your business card at the scene of an accident.
This wasn't an accident.
Joanna is a character who is very single-minded. She's independent. She knows what she's thinking, and is never afraid to act on it. Mostly.
Yes.
You obviously know who she is so clearly, and with everything you do know after shooting 4 seasons, how do you assume her when you go on a set?
Joanna is interesting because there are times when I think, like you said, she's singular in her focus. Like she knows what particularly in a work environment, she knows what she wants. So she can come in with a plan and move forward. Even if she's unsteady, she'll always find a way to drive ahead. It's rare that she'll walk into a space and exude like a lack of confidence or an uncertainty, unless it's in a more personal situation where she feels comfortable. She's just like, it's a natural thing. It doesn't take a lot of thought. All of her like kind of backstory and life history and all the things we've shot kind of live in my body with her, if that makes sense.
So how would you describe your relationship with her?
Well, that's funny too. I guess she's like any of the characters that I've played, she's like an aspect of me. She lives in my form, but she's not me. So I have to embody her experiences.
It's educational for us in terms of the legal processes. And also it's so cool to see her, as you say, just do what she needs to do. I love that. And I love that she's a success, and you're back for your 4th season presenting this great woman, this great example.
Thank you.
So, yeah. How do you feel that as a responsibility in a way?
Well, she's a funny character. I think she's super flawed. So where I think she's a role model in a sense is that she's willing to confront the aspects of herself that are hindering her from being the person that she wants to be, which ultimately in Joanna's case is a person that she can respect at the end of the day, that she can look at herself and feel like she did the right thing and she did more good than harm. Essentially that she's not her father, she's moving in a constant path away from being him. So I feel more of a responsibility to the authenticity of herself, to the flaws that she has, because she's not a superhero by any means. She's constantly struggling, and I feel like that's a reflective of us. We come up against our fears, we come up against our limitations, we come up against our own ignorance or lack of knowledge, and we try and overcome those things, and we don't always succeed. So I feel responsibility to portray that honestly without it still being aspirational, but right. Not being unachievable.
And so anyone looking at her thinks she's got it together.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a cool trick in the universe she inhabits. She has to do that. She has to have that formidable lawyer aspect to her. So, it's like all of us, isn't it? I mean, just as you said, it's what's out there, what's inside, and they're sometimes at war a little bit. But she's very brave. She steps into these fraught situations. This season, she's dealing with a mine that's going to be reopening, which means that a woman is going to be sent off her generational farm, which means the land can be poisoned by reopening, old mines or whatever. And I worry for her. Do you ever worry for her safety?
Yeah, I mean, Joanna does put herself into very dangerous circumstances sometimes. And I think it's a point of conflict this year between her and Billy, because they have a child now. And so, so she is putting herself into these dangerous situations. And Billy's like, for what reason? Ultimately, like, is it worth it? Is it worth our lives? And is it worth our child's life? And so I think that they struggle with that. Her bravery, she's brave in that world, but it's really hard for her to be brave in her relationship. Although I think she has been. I think she's really pushed herself, but I think it's hard for her. Although this year, I think you do see in some ways Joanna is willing to be more brave than Billy is in building the intimacy and growing their relationship.
Well, you know, and she has a baby. Mm-hmm. And you see when she sits down with Cassidy, all that anxiety and doubt just melt away. I found that really moving. I mean, for you, maybe it was just a moment that you're shooting, or maybe you were feeling it somehow, but it was so resonant. So, you know.
Yeah, because Joanna really is struggling with being a mom this year and doubting herself and doubting her ability and doubting her instincts and like many moms, right? Yes, absolutely. It is a common struggle. I mean, the pressures that are put on mothers from all aspects of life, from social media, from the press, from each other, from those who don't have kids judging. Like, I just think there's so much pressure on moms. And we really wanted to delve into that with her. So we get to look at that a lot in the season. And I think Joanna loves Cassidy. And it's hard, you know, when you're acting, even there's a baby there's a human. Everything changes the minute you have another person who's a child, like a baby in your scene. But she also really grapples with her own parentage through parenting Cassidy.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And that can carry us through to another season, right?
Maybe.
Let's hope. Now, you shoot the series in Selkirk, Manitoba, and I wonder if that is that must be I'm assuming that it's an asset, because you're away from the hurly-burly and you've got these complicated stories and this complex character that you play. Tell me how the environment helps you, or how it affects you.
So we shoot kind of between Winnipeg and Selkirk, and Selkirk's about 45 minutes outside of the city. And Selkirk's been incredibly welcoming for us. Mm-hmm. There is something about working in a smaller town, and Selkirk isn't a small town like Millwood is a small town, but Selkirk is a smaller town than Winnipeg or, you know, Toronto, where I live. But there's something about, you know, going to the Safeway at lunch and getting coffee, and like everyone kind of watches the show, and it's just got this kind of cozy, nice feeling to it. And we get to work on our show on location all the time. We don't really have any stages, so we're always on location, which also feels very real. But the environment informs everything that we do with the show. When the show was first conceived, Brad Simpson, the creator, originally wanted to be on the East Coast. And due to a whole bunch of reasons, it ended up being set in Winnipeg. But when he came to Winnipeg, the whole show changed. The structure of the kind of the struggles changed. It's still, you know, single industry towns and what that looks like in these times. But it kind of gave it the feel of the prairies, which is so different and so rich.
This company views their influence to silence dissenting voices.
You don't want to fight these guys.
Found your business card at the scene of an accident.
This wasn't an accident.
Burden of Truth, new season, January 28th on CBC and CBC Gem.